The work is from I suppose I would call it a ritual. I was commissioned to make the National Memorial for Organ and Tissue Donation for Scotland. So you can imagine it's a very involved, sensitive, emotive task. And I felt that more than anything, the work had to be for people that were grieving, because strangely, it had to be for people that had lost family, but also people that had received an organ, so they were still celebrating life. So it had this dichotomy, but you always have to put grief first. And the way I made the project was to think about our bodies and the land, and I felt that stones represent our organs, or our organs are the stones of our body, would be a better way of putting it. So I worked with two friends, and we collected stones from the River Lion that exactly resemble the shape of human organs. And then we photographed them, and then those stones were actually buried in the memorial itself, which is a small, really like a dwelling. It's called a tai, which just means house, but it's too small for humans to get into. It's a kind of stone and turf memorial. So these stones are buried in the turf roof. So the stones are in the earth, like a burial, but the roots of the living grass reaches down and touches them, and that felt like it brought the right symbolism of life and death. I often work collaboratively, and the work I have in the exhibition here tonight is collaborative. It's actually collaboration with lots of people, but the main person I would like to commend is Hannah Devereux, who took the photographs of my project. I wanted to approach the project not as a work of science art. I really felt that it had to be about emotions and feelings. And it's in the Botanics in Edinburgh. I created a sheltered space within some trees by an old ruined croft with a pond that reflects the light. It's very peaceful and gentle. And so I wanted to create a connection between this. It's actually an area of native planting. So there's some pines and some other native flowers that grow there. And we actually planted a cutting from the Fortingal yew, which is the oldest growing thing in Europe. And so I wanted to create a connection between that and the Scottish wilderness. So that's why I worked in Glen Lyon, and we took the stones from the River Lion. And there's actually a tradition in Scotland of stones being used for healing, as well as obviously for cairns and memorials. So in some senses it's very traditional work. But underneath the memorial I buried a wooden kist, which has a very specially beautiful book in which I hand wrote the names of everyone who's ever given an organ for donation. And I also buried a scalpel and the particular kind of medicine you take when you receive an organ to make sure that your body doesn't reject it. So I try to bring together the contemporary and the ancient. And obviously all of those pieces, the stones, the scalpel, the names, had to be hidden away. They had to be buried. I couldn't have people throwing them around. I couldn't have people taking the scalpel away, taking the drugs away. So in a way the work is quite hidden. You know, it's actually in the roof and underneath. So photography was the way to keep the work, and I made a book which has the photographs. So in a way the photos are also a kind of memorial.